And so again, like if he's the court jester, kind of like ushering all this stuff in through a Trojan horse, like what better way to do it, right? Like through this brilliant, eccentric billionaire. So,
Who
yeah,
is the number one defense contractor? I mean, like, why would he ruin that? I mean, why would he destroy his relationship with the deep state, which is the
yeah,
Pentagon? I mean, I
sure,
don't understand why people can't at least go, "Hey, man, maybe we should be guarded in our optimism."
sure. Well, I mean, don't forget Starlink also, his Starlink satellites also aid the US drone programs. And here's a fun fact. He's also the grandson of the Canadian Technocracy Party leader. So he's got this whole like technocracy background, transhumanist background, and Mr. Brain Chip, don't forget about that part. I don't know, man. It is all very peculiar, and I don't, again, like I'm not trying to paint with too broad of a brush here because I'm somebody who values nuance, but there are some things that we should be paying attention to, and I see a profound lack of skepticism coming from the right. Like we have to stay vigilant. That's much more important than owning the libs or winning any culture war. It's like if they are, let's just say like this is theoretical, right? But like if they are performing this controlled demolition, so people will readily accept this technocratic surveillance state, like they're doing a damn good job of it. And nobody's even think twice right now, especially the right who has been so up in arms since COVID about all this stuff. Are they going to say anything if Musk does say, well, guess what, guys? Like your driver's license now need to be mobile driver's license and a digital ID. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully they'd push back. I've seen mixed reviews of people online. Some people say that, yeah, maybe the hardcore MAGA would, but like the red pilled MAGA, the people who just supported him because they think he was a better option, like they would push back on it. But I don't think the MAGA camp would. I think they're too deep, like they're knee deep in this stuff, and they just don't have what it seems to be real critical thinking skills.
Oh, and
It
They
is
wanted,
really
Real ID,
hard.
Real ID's gone forward too. That's I mean
Yeah,
that
I got to get one by May or else I can't fly, which I battling hard not to want to fly because they definitely don't want us flying. If we're
yeah,
in 50, if they want us in 15-minute cities, why do they want us on planes? And they're just I'm still not convinced anybody was on that Black Hawk. I'm not. I
sure,
mean, I don't know who was in on any of it.
sure, sure.
I don't know who's in on any of the planes, any of that stuff. I don't know any of that stuff, dude. You know, but you're totally right. And because you get into mega bros, you get into all that stuff, you kind of, my belief again is that if you're going to live in a big city, you're going to live under Orwellian rules.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if you want to, if you don't want to live in under that, you're going to move to the small. You're going to move to these small cities on the outskirts where they're not just going to care. They're going to be like, okay, you want to live in 2,000 people, go have a good time. But if you want to live where all the business is, you're going to have to play ball. You're going to be okay with us just having zero privacy on anything.
Yeah.
Our comfort will be our enslavement. That is exactly what's going to happen. Ah, I can put my hand on here. Ah, look, I can look, I'm at Amazon. I can put my hand down and it charges my hand. It's so much easier than having to get out my phone and my credit card. You're like, you have no clue what you're signing up for.
Sure. I mean, that's the predicate of, the CBDCs. And I know that they seem like they're dead in the water now, but I wrote a book in 2023 about how to prepare for CBDCs. And that's always been the rhetoric that comes from these ruling class elites is that it's going to be more convenient and it's going to be more inclusive. And those two things are supposed to be kind of like the,
Two
the
of the
talking points.
scariest words ever said.
Sure.
Convenient and inclusive. Whenever you hear inclusive, run.
Good point.
Just run. Get out. So, what is your take on crypto?
I am a crypto proponent. I like the idea. Now, this gets a little bit confusing, right? Because even just recently, there has been kind of a shift with, the Bitcoin community. And, I've been doing this for a long time, as you guys have been as well, obviously. And to watch Bitcoin go from what was it, $7 and it went up to like a couple hundred to a couple thousand. And now it's like at 100,000. Like I feel like there's some momentum there, and I really love that it is catching on and becoming more widely accepted. But there are also aspects of it that are concerning because now we saw that Trump just signed these orders to basically kill off Biden's research into CBDCs. But there's speculation, and this is kind of what Whitney Webb gets into, and even somebody like Bitcoin Jesus, Roger Ver, that Bitcoin has been hijacked. It was hijacked during the block wars, and they've basically made it so it's not something that will ever reach the same destination that it was intended to by Satoshi Nakamoto, which was to be peer-to-peer electronic cash. What's become is more become digital gold. It's become something that's an investment. It's become kind of gamified like the stock market. And I think that was intentional. I think that, or at least what Roger's book, Hijacking Bitcoin, suggests is that there were intelligence agency actors who got involved with bottlenecking some of the transaction processes and the speeds with the Lightning Network and making it more difficult for people to use. If you look at like, I think it's something like, it's ridiculous. It's like 6 transactions per minute or something crazy like that, or excuse me, per second. And I think that's like, it's something like a Visa or MasterCard has like 100,000 transactions per second. So these numbers might be a little wrong, but like it's the general ballpark of kind of illustrating the point I'm making is that they've made it incredibly difficult to use as a peer-to-peer. So I am in big support of things like Zano, like Monero, Pirate Chain, Pirate Coin, stuff like that, more privacy oriented crypto. Uh, and I think that's the way forward, especially if we do get into this kind of digital uh, money kind of realm, which, has been dangled in front of us. And it seems like it still could possibly be something that happens. But I think there was enough pushback against the CBDCs widely that they kind of realized that they had to change directions on it a little bit. So um, there are aspects of it, crypto, that I think are liberating and could change kind of the paradigm that we're living in right now. But we also have to be, once again, kind of skeptical, especially when things go mainstream like Bitcoin has. So,
What is your take on, do you have any thoughts on BRICS?
yeah, I mean, the whole de-dollarization is certainly happening as well. And when, your currency is backed by literally nothing except for military might, that's going to piss off a lot of people, and I think that we've backed a lot of corners into a country or a lot of countries into a corner, excuse me. And it's something that they're realizing they actually can control. They can push back on the US dollar and create their own currencies and their own reserves. So yeah, I mean, this is all just symptoms of a dying empire, as well as, people like Kamala and Trump. I really do believe that they're just going to exploit the dying empire until the wheels fall off. And that's kind of what we're seeing with the broligarchy, the tech bro takeover and all that stuff. It's maybe not to the same degree as in your face as like a Kamala administration would be, or Kamala. Sorry, I always get that wrong. But it is concerning. Yeah.
What does that look like, the end of the empire to you? What happens to America?
Oof, boy, I haven't spent a lot of time actually visualizing that. I talk about what to do before that case in my book. I talked about 3 ways to prepare for CBDCs, but I don't know if I could really envision prolonged periods of unrest in the US. I don't really think Americans have it in them, but I think if things get bad enough, if the dollar does crash, if there's no food on the shelves in grocery stores, um, yeah, there's going to be, some chaos, most definitely. But that's exactly the reason why we need to start kind of taking action now. And yeah, buying cryptocurrencies, learning how to use cryptocurrencies, learning how to grow your own food, learning how to barter and trade and all types of stuff like that. I mean, that's really important. I don't think people understand that this is the time to be doing it right now, not when shit hits the fan. When shit hits the fan, good luck. Like you need to be prepared now. You need to understand how to use a firearm. You need to know how to do basic repairs, self-sufficiency, all these things. You need to train, man. Yeah, I mean, I just bought a whole new uh, plate carrier and everything for myself just recently. Like I'm taking this shit seriously, man. Yeah, I'm preparing for the worst and hoping for the best, and build your kit, buy your AR, do what you got to do, like train, man. It's not just for preparation either. It's also a show of force to remind law enforcement and remind government that we're out here, we exist, and we're going to uphold our rights one way or another. And I don't know if that mentality is prevalent enough. I think we need to be pushing back more with that kind of thinking.
I just did Tim Pool and it was a great experience. And Tim wasn't feeling good, but they had a co-host standing sitting in, and he was great. I don't know how deep into conspiracies he is, which I find that weird
Yeah.
Sure.
after all the last 20 years. How you can't be like, yeah, people don't conspire. I go, you don't think people conspire? Because that really at its core is what a conspiracy is. People are conspiring to do something. But I told him, and I believe this wholeheartedly, we should be the most paranoid
Yeah.
population out there. We
Yeah.
should be paranoid that what happened to China, Russia, and Germany could easily be done here. I think there's an illusion that they won't ever do that here.
Yeah.
And the people that do that don't care. A great example, this is going into some weird stuff, but the Dallas Mavericks right now, just stick with me. The Dallas Mavericks, there is this belief right now that they traded their number one player, who's a generational player, a top three player in the league, because they want to bottom out the Mavs so they can threaten to move the Mavs to Las Vegas. Just think about the level of psychopath that takes to trade a generational player like that to bottom out a franchise that you just bought in for a couple bill.
Sure.
If they're going to do that with sports, why wouldn't people even hire up? I mean, you're talking about the owner of the Mavs is a woman who just gave what $100 million to Trump to flatten Gaza.
Yeah.
You don't think those people wouldn't implode this motherfucker to bring in what they want because they're psychopaths and they believe they're above it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are delusional about what you're up against. You're up against people that do not care. And just like on just like on Animal Planet, the hunters never stop hunting. They're always
Bingo.
hunting.
Bingo.
The prey is just trying to live its life. I just want to eat some grass, knock up my chick, have some kids, live my life. But the hunters are hunting.
Sure. No, you absolutely hit the nail on the head there, Sam. It's been a great conversation. And yeah, government is the gun in the room. And I use this analogy often. Everybody's trying to get the gun in the room. This is $1 trillion machine that they'll be able to control. Trillion plus. I mean, well, technically we're 36 trillion in debt, but nevertheless, obviously the levers of power that come with government control are vast. So why wouldn't they use every psyop, every piece of propaganda, everything at their disposal to continue to, yeah, run this empire and control that gun in the room, control the $1 trillion machine? So I'm right there with you, man.